a group of some of the most amazing people I've ever met. And I'm surrounded by them all the time. And I absolutely love that. So when we introduce a new agent into the team, it's not just another realtor, on the board to put sales on there. It's actually a team member, somebody that we're going to become friends with. And that makes a
Yep.
big difference.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome to the Closing Table Podcast. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and ready to talk real estate specifically in another brand new market. We are welcoming another real estate professional, Shatay Acevedo. How are you, Shatay?
I am wonderful, Kevin. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here, accepting our invitation to be on the Closing Table. We don't take that lightly, so thank you. So, let's talk to you first as an individual before we talk to you as a professional. I want to give you this space. If you can, just tell us who you are outside of real estate. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, I born and raised in New York, moved to Michigan from California in 2015. And I live in Oxford, Michigan, which I absolutely adore. It's the cutest, most quaint little town, I feel like, in all of Michigan.
Nice.
Big promoter of my community here. And let's see, I don't know, long walks on the beach and hot tea. That's my thing.
Yeah, that sounds real relaxing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we're here on a lake in Oxford. So I love lake life. I can't imagine doing anything different.
Love it, love it. Sounds very, very relaxing, very fun, very comforting. And it seems like, after you have a long day, that will be the thing to do. Go to the beach, have some good tea, we'll look at the scenery. So it sounds perfect. Perfect. So anyway, cool. Good to hear that. Now let's get into your actual business, Shatay. If you don't mind, I want you to kind of describe your real estate business for us. If you are able to hit on a few key points, please do. How long you've been licensed, what you consider your specialty, and any notable achievements, maybe.
Okay. Well, I'm the broker owner of Fifth Avenue Realty out of Troy, and we opened in 2019. So
Mm-hmm.
the required period of time for a salesperson to become a broker is 3 years. And so I got my broker's license and then opened the brokerage immediately. I think that was a big jump, a leap
Right.
from salesperson to brokerage owner.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, excited, motivated, just really enthusiastic about what I could build. And we focus mainly on residential properties.
Okay.
And I don't enjoy commercial property as much. I don't feel like it's as fulfilling for me. So
Mm.
I still do my own sales sometimes as well, not as much as I wish I could now, but as often as possible. I feel like that's the fun part of doing my job is actually having clients of my own and working in transactions that, I've started and finished.
Right. Yeah, still getting I guess you could say still getting your hands dirty to some extent, actually getting in there and doing the actual work rather than just doing the managing, the teaching, and the coaching and whatnot. So I get it. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you active, keeps you going, keeps you level headed and know what's exactly going on in the
Yeah.
actual consumer level of things. So good to hear. Good to hear. So you already talked about it. You moved from New York to Cali, and now you end up, I hate to say it, unfortunately in Michigan compared to those other markets. Man, I get it. I love Michigan. I'm just talking crap. So I want you to take this time now to describe your market for people who may have never been there. Give as much context as you possibly can, geographically at least.
Okay. So I'll start with saying that I have moved 50 times in my life. Okay. 50. So
Whoa.
when I say that Michigan is the best place on earth to be, I
Okay.
truly believe it. And I have some
Okay.
experience to back that statement. Okay. Um, I spent a lot of time in the South, on the West Coast, all over the place. And Michigan is
Mm-hmm.
it. We operate in 6 counties. I have agents in all 6 counties. So
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, we're pretty widespread.
Hmm.
Oakland County is where I live, as well as so many fantastic agents and brokers out here. You'll find that we have a lot of little pocket areas. So I find that Michigan has just reminds me of California in the sense that there are these pocket towns where from one town to the next within a few miles of each other, it's like you're in a totally different, I mean, not just zip code, but state. Uh,
Mm,
Here's
I
something
agree.
like compare like Oxford, Lake Orion to, I don't know, Dearborn, Royal Oak, right?
Hmm.
Totally different worlds.
That's true.
And I mean, what are we, an hour apart, barely?
Hmm.
So very, very different. And I love that change, that mix of lifestyle, of culture. So I mean, we know Michigan's full of culture. If nothing
Yeah.
else, we've got that going for us. And when you compare my experience from New York and California and Michigan, cost of living wise,
Oh, no
come on.
question.
Yeah.
No
Like,
question.
that's it. I feel like we're winning every day.
Hmm. Hmm. Well said. I would have to agree with that. Another thing is, as a native Michigander myself, I appreciate the fact that we get all 4 seasons first and foremost, and they're not super extreme. We don't get any super extreme natural disasters. Like we
Yes.
don't get earthquake. I wouldn't know what I would do if the entire earth just started to shake. Like or if we had a hurricane or something like that, or or frequent tornado, like that type of stuff. I'll take 6 inches of snow. So
100%.
exactly. So
I've
and then like you said, the cost of living, oh,
Mhm.
compare it. So
Yeah,
please.
I've experienced all of it, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a big misconception about Michigan when, I'd speak to my friends in New York or California, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? We had some snow." And I tell everybody it's not that bad. I mean, we get a few months of
Right.
snow. There's nothing crazy about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in comparison, the wait between the snow for a few months, some cold, and the amazing springs, the cool breezy summers. I mean, the east
Mm.
falls.
Yep.
We're winning in every aspect here.
Yep, yep, and more than likely, you're probably just a few hour drive away from a lake, some land, a good beach somewhere, Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Lake Huron, surrounded by the water. I love the perspective because it's making me appreciate and love Michigan so much more, especially talking to agents in different markets. So,
Let me
great,
ask you
great
this,
example.
Kevin. Have you
Hmm.
been to Torch Lake?
I have not. I've heard a
Oof,
lot about it though.
I can't handle this. There's so many Michiganders that have never been to Torch Lake. Torch
Yeah,
Lake sold me on Michigan. I mean, it's the Bahamas of Michigan. You have to go.
really.
You haven't lived until you've gone to Torch Lake.
Okay, okay. That's on my to-do list. Let me write that down. Torch Lake. I will. Okay, thank you. Thank you. A little nugget right there. So let's talk
Mhm.
about the market that you serve economically now, right? Let's just give a few numbers. A little bit of data if you have it. Average prices, average days on the market, anything that you can give us in regards to how the economics of your market is moving.
Sure. Because we're within 6 counties, which is a really vast area. I mean, a lot of mileage we're covering there.
Hmm.
We're working with buyers and sellers anywhere from the very lower levels. I mean, I've sold a $30,000 house before, up
Wow.
to areas like South Lyon or Birmingham, where we're in the almost 2 million range. So
Mm,
I think that partly because of the counties and I mean, how vast of an area we cover, our area of responsibility, and because we work more like a boutique brokerage, we're very personable. So I can work with anyone. I mean, I'm a girl from the hood. I'm from Brooklyn, so I can work with
okay.
anybody, and
Brooklyn.
so
Love it.
we just there's no limit, there's not a property that is just or a buyer that's not worth working with, right? Unless they're
Hmm.
just really unpleasant, which we've had plenty of those experiences. But
I
uh,
imagine.
yeah, economically the range is pretty wide. And on average, I would say probably the average price point is anywhere between maybe 5 and 700.
Woo.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Depending on where you are, you can definitely get into that area. That's a crazy range from 30,000 to 2 million, though. I
Yeah.
mean that is literally everything in between. But a $30,000 home. This had to have been in Detroit, I imagine. Yes.
Believe it or not, so my very first property I sold was, I want to say it was $36,000. And it was in Clinton Township. It was a condo.
Oh, whoa.
Yes,
Okay.
and a great story about that one. I was part of a team, and this lead comes in. It's this woman, and she would click on properties over and over again. So over the
Mm-hmm.
course of maybe a year, she had been requesting to see all kinds of different properties. And the agents on the team did no one wanted to work with her because they were like, I'm not going to waste my time with a $30,000 condo, a 20,000, a 40, right? So,
Right.
I'm kind of brand new and I'm like, I'll sell a $30,000 property. Why not? And I sold that woman probably about 12 properties to date between
Woo.
2015 and today. And still to
Ah,
this day, I still maintain contact with her. And some of them were smaller properties, some of them were higher, but I mean, we've gone well over $1 million in sales over.
exactly.
So,
Oh
I
my
really
goodness.
don't forget about the little deals because a lot of times they can turn into very big ones.
Yes, yes. The little fish in the pond need to be fed also. You can't overlook that. I love that. That's a great example of not putting a number on the client, not
Mhm,
turning down deals just because you won't get what you expect from out of return from it. It's literally looking at the person and seeing, do you need help? I can help you. This is how I can help you, and then doing it, and then obviously in turn into multiple transactions.
mhm.
Man, those other
Absolutely.
agents should be ashamed of themselves.
Really.
Good work though. Good work. Speaks to your character. I love to hear that. I love to hear that.
Yeah, no, I
Speaking of
appreciate.
character, Speaking of character, Shatay, you actually served in the military, the United States Air Force, first and foremost. And I want to say thank you for your service. We
Thanks for
always
your.
like to acknowledge that. So, with that being said, let's talk about some of the things, some of the principles as a servant leader that you took from the military that you actually applied to your real estate profession. You have any examples of that, by the way?
Oh yeah, I mean that's a day-to-day function at the brokerage. I mean, servant leadership as a broker to my agents is my number one priority. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
broker that you're going to call at 10, 11, midnight, 1 a.m. if there's a fire in your email and there's a problem and you're not going to close on time, or you're having an issue with, a nasty realtor or another broker. I'm the one that gets on the phone and handles
Mm-hmm.
it. There's no question. You're never going to be left alone. A lot of agents I notice, I get that same story. I feel like, I had to deal with really tough situations by myself. I wasn't sure how to handle it. I have the experience and I don't back down. So I'm that servant leader that's going to go to bat for you every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, love that, love that. And I kind of knew that. We've had a few agents here who also served in the military, and we appreciate their service. But I also know that you could take a lot that you learn from the military and apply it to almost anything: discipline, the resilience, the attention to detail, that type of thing. It makes or breaks a lot of different professions. So I just knew that you had something that you translated from that career over to this profession, and it's good to hear that it's working out and turns you out to be a very successful agent also.
Yeah, it does
Not
definitely build character.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, but not only, like we said, are you an agent, but you actually own your brokerage. I
Mhm.
want to talk about this Fifth Avenue Realty. Can you talk about how it was born and how the work that you put in to shape the culture amongst yourself and the other agents?
Yeah. So, well, when I started out on a team.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a lot of experience from the people on the team, the team leader, all of it, good and bad. And then I created something that I wanted to have when I started out. Everything that I
Mm,
felt like I was missing, I wanted to bring that into Fifth Avenue. So a culture of inclusion, of being held accountable, and positivity. I'm all about the positivity. There's no negative vibes. We have zero tolerance for any of that.
there you go.
So when we come together, I genuinely want to work with realtors that I like, that I enjoy, that I would want to see outside of the office and have
Mm-hmm.
lunch with. Because that vibe, it certainly is impacted when you're around people that you just don't enjoy being around. So,
Oh
and sometimes you know how it is. There's good business and bad business, right? So I've
man.
met agents that are excellent producers, but in 10 minutes of a conversation with them, I realized that I don't want to see you every day or every other day. So you might be great for my
That's
bottom
the
line
truth.
at the brokerage, but you're not going to be good for the energy we have going on here. And
That's the truth.
I cannot afford to bring a realtor into the company that throws our energy off, that throws our vibe
Mm,
off. I literally
mm.
have a group of some of the most amazing people I've ever met, and I'm surrounded by them all the time. And I absolutely love that. So when we introduce a new agent into the team, it's not just another realtor, on the board to put sales on there. It's actually a team member, somebody that we're going to become friends with, and that makes a
Yep.
big difference.
100%. I could relay that same thing to so many different at sports, which I
Mhm.
love, by the way. Sports, by the way, same thing. Even in the military, like
Yep.
you have to have a great team. You have to have a great culture within the team. Everybody has to be on the same page, and you got to keep that energy up. None of that
Yep.
negativity stuff
Yep.
whatsoever. I 100% get that because it's like Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A. Are they serving something that's super innovative? No, it's a chicken sandwich. But
Yeah.
that service is spectacular. I will
Yeah.
spend $10 for a chicken sandwich every single time just because they will greet me with respect. They won't forget my napkins or my sauce.
All right.
I'm sorry, I just went on a tangent, but that just speaks to what you were saying. I just want to wrap that up by saying I love Chick-fil-A.
Throughout Chick-fil-A. They're not even sponsoring this, but
Man,
okay.
I know. All right, let's get that out of here. Never mind. But anyway, I get that though, because the whole point of that is making sure you're recruiting people that aligns with your message, your mission, your vibe, and that keeps the brand alive, and that keeps a certain stigma with the brand. So I just want to add on to that. I love that point that you made when it comes to that.
Yeah. No, that's how it is.
Many different achievements that you have. Also obtained your master's degree in business administration. That is not necessary in the profession of real estate. So, are there anything that you learn from your institutional education that you apply to your day-to-day operations? And do you have any examples of that playing a crucial role in one of your transactions?
Yeah, so great question. I'm not a huge fan of the belief that you need formal education to become successful. I know tons of folks that
Yep.
have very little to almost no education, sometimes not even so much as a high school diploma, and they are some of the most impressive people I've ever met. I
Talk
mean,
about it.
celebrities in my personal life. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, that being said, for me, I do feel like it did change the course of my life. It has promoted my success. I wasn't even going to get a master's degree. My
Mm-hmm.
dad pushed me to do it, and it actually started out to where I got my bachelor's degree, graduated in like December timeframe. My dad kept pushing me to it, so I signed up. I signed up for grad school. I submitted my required paperwork and essays to get in, and then I got the acceptance. And I figured I'm not going to really do this, but I'll show up on day one, right? Just to see.
Okay.
And before I knew it, I was like, I'm gonna show up on day two, and I literally blinked and it was over. I mean, that's really
Mm,
how it felt. It moved so quickly, and I thought, wow, I don't actually. Now I look back and I'm thinking, I don't actually need a master's degree. I don't need any type of degree to do what I'm doing. But it does open up some doors. I feel like it lends to my relatability to all aspects of clients from all
mhm.
walks of life. So, I can relate to a client that it does have formal education. I can have a vast range of conversations, of educated conversations, stimulating conversations, and feel very comfortable in a room of extremely intelligent individuals.
There you
That
go.
being said, I also can speak to anybody else, someone who doesn't have formal education. So it certainly doesn't hurt. I think it also has given me an opportunity to kind of expand my thought process a little bit. I don't remember the lessons of corporate finance, when we were going through the program, but
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
gives me this open mind to be able to understand more difficult concepts and come up with solutions a lot faster, I think.
Well said. Well said. That was very honest and vulnerable you to really put that out there like that. As someone who has a master's degree, a graduate degree, and pretty much spoke on the truth that, you know, you feel like it's not necessary. And, you know, it has its benefits. Don't get us wrong. But at the same time, you can, like you said, you can be successful without it. But it has brought a certain aspect, a different perspective to your career. And like you said, you're able to even relate to certain professionals with, you know, certain levels of education. So I get it. You know, I obtained my bachelor's of science in communication. I've teetered with the idea of going back to school, even though I don't want to say hate, excuse me. I have a disdain for formal education and institutional learning. I
Yeah.
find other ways to educate myself, but nonetheless, I completely get it. You know, it's about what you plan on doing with the education. There's networking that you can use in college also that has a lot of value. So either way it go, you know, if formal education is for you, pursue it. If not, find ways to still reach your goal. I'm an advocate for that. So I feel like you basically spoke on the same also.
Absolutely. Do what you're good at. Do what you
Yes.
enjoy. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well said. You say you like to get every cent for your clients when you are helping them negotiating deals. From that perspective, I would assume you're taking the seller's agent role with that one. But I know you probably do both. But can you talk about a specific instance where you did get your client top dollar for their property or help them save a lot of money during a transaction? Any stories that stand out to you?
Well, there's actually one where I was on the buy side I can think of. This was a really
Okay.
personal uh, transaction. So I had a client, lower income, property was not very high. She had going through a divorce, a really tough personal time, and she didn't have much money. She didn't have closing costs. I know we talked about the seller's concessions and earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
she needed that. She barely had a down payment, and she was just really struggling, but was in a position to where within the next 2 to 3 months, she would essentially be homeless. So I had a tough situation because also on the list side, the listing agent was not one of the friendliest agents to work with.
Mm.
And so my approach usually when I'm negotiating is to first figure out everybody wants something out of a deal, right?
Right.
Everybody wants to win, and the key I think is to ensure that the other side doesn't feel like they really lost anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm taking the approach in the beginnings of a negotiation, I want to get to know who that other person is, what's kind of their motivation. Obviously, they're trying to get as much money for their client as well, but sometimes I delve into the personal side of things just to kind of get a feel for who they are and kind of what makes them tick so that I can relate to them. And when we're going through a
Right.
negotiation, they're more amiable to me. So with this other realtor, it turns out that she had a similar story at one time to my client. And with the permission of my client to share that, I did. I shared, the situation, what we were working with, and instead of approaching this other agent with that shark mentality, that comes off really aggressive sometimes and sometimes works. I approached it more relatable. I helped her relate more to my client, and in explaining the similar stories, she felt compassionate and wanted to
There you
make
go.
this happen. Right. So end of
There
the
you
day,
go.
we all wind up coming together. And I just remember at closing, my client, she actually hugged the other agent and just thanked her and was so grateful.
Mm.
That realtor, who was one of the most bitter, angry people I've ever dealt with, suddenly dropped that guard and was like a person, it was I saw this moment where she had this guard up from whatever bad experiences she had had, and it was just this really genuine compassionate moment with my client because they shared a similar story. So it sometimes it works
Mm.
out like that. And those are the ones that make you kind of get up the next day and do it all over again. Those are the most fulfilling.
Man, oh, first, can I applaud you for that? First and foremost, that just sounded like a beautiful story of you helping someone in a very unfortunate situation go from potentially being homeless to
Yeah.
literally be to owning a home, not rent but own. So I love to hear that first and foremost, and I love that story also involved dealing with an agent on the other side of the closing table, no pun intended, that was very, very difficult to work with.
Mm,
We don't talk about that enough. I like to highlight that here on the closing table about those tensions that you usually have to deal with. But I love that you highlight, because that's a whole nother obstacle that you have to overcome.
oh
We're
yeah.
already dealing with the complexities of the actual transaction, and then
Mhm.
with the emotions of the clients. So then now
Mm,
I have to deal with you as a professional
yeah.
having some type of attitude or whatever the case may be. It makes your job difficult, and that's with any job, dealing with someone with a difficult attitude. But
Right.
nonetheless, shout out to you finding common ground, finding a way to kind of bridge that gap, let her guard down, and get that transaction closed. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness.
You
I
gotta do
love
what you gotta do.
that. I love that. I love that. But speaking of your praises, though, this isn't the only time that you've had clients actually talk about your work. You helped another client become a first-time home buyer, and I saw that they said this quote: "She was so patient, which I feel is such a vital quality to have as a
Mhm.
realtor." End quote. Let's talk about patience and your patience. Do you have a situation where you feel like your patience was tested the most? Like you were almost pushed to that edge? And can you explain a time where you had to let a patient go, maybe because of a situation like that, with patience being
Yeah.
past its limit?
Yeah. So, I mean, I certainly have had to let clients go before. Sometimes that's probably one of
Mm-hmm.
the toughest decisions for a realtor, because we put
I
in
bet.
so much time to some of these clients, and I'm
Mm,
telling you, we can all relate to the situations to where we've done X amount of showings with this person. We absolutely dread it every time. But we keep saying to ourselves, well, I've already put this much time in, or maybe the next one
yep.
it'll be over, right? So I figured I had this one client. He was a big time investor, wanted to purchase something like 30 properties within the next 2 years, in the next 24 months. And
Mm-hmm.
we probably went out about, I want to say about 3, 4 times. And with every instance, every time we did go out, it there was just something off. There was a level of respect that I wasn't really receiving. The way that he spoke,
Mm,
sometimes this comes off, people present themselves certain ways and they don't, it's unintentional, but this was
right.
absolutely intentional. He was an alpha male, but he was more in his wounded alpha and not his true alpha. So
Uh-oh.
the way that he responded to me as a woman was just it was just off. I thought, you move kind of funny. And so after about 3, 4 showings, he had made a comment that I found to be very disrespectful. It was a lack of my appreciation for my profession, for my experience. And
Mm,
yeah, I just told him, I was like, you know what, I don't think this is a good fit. I don't think that this is going to work well for us. And I'd love to give you a reference, a referral to another agent that would do a fantastic job for you. It's just not going to be me today. So, yeah, kind of had to break up with him, so to speak.
aw. Break up with him. That's
Yeah,
funny.
I mean, that could have been a really profitable transaction. Like 30 properties over the course of 24 months. That sounds like a dream come true for
Woo.
a lot of agents. But 1,000,000%, I'm all about that energy and the vibe. And you're not going to throw off my day on a regular basis for
Talk
24 months
about it.
for no amount of
Man,
money.
protect your peace 100%. There's no cost
Yeah.
on it. I feel that. It's so unfortunate to hear about people, not even just agents, not even just clients,
Mm,
but people that
yeah.
want to be difficult to work with, or just make everyone else's life complicated. Like, why? You just have to do what you just did. Sometimes, hey, come to peace with it. We got to go our separate ways. It's just not working out, And let me tell you, you got a harder goal for referring to another agent, because you would have been out there on your own if it was me. Maybe I
You
shouldn't have said
know,
that. Let's take
well,
that out, producers and editors. Take that out.
what's
But
really
anyway,
funny about it is I actually did. I wound up reaching out to a friend of mine, and I called him up and I said, "Look, I've got this lead, this client here, and this is what his plan is. I'm going to give you forewarning now. He is awful.
oh,
He is awful
whoa,
every single day. You absolutely will not like this person, but
what?
you want it." And yeah, I'm pretty sure I closed a few deals with him, you know. So it all depends on what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. And it's possible that that client did not treat him the same way you treated me. So
Yeah, yeah. It's
mhm,
so unfortunate. I hate that. And he
yeah,
chose to work with you too, but then
right.
want to act like that towards the person. That is whatever. So anyway, like I said, it's unfortunate that people out there like that move and operate like that. I hate it, but nonetheless, we just all do our best as the good people in the world to just steer away from it. Let them
Hmm.
go to their own world, but we got to keep it positive over here, baby. All right,
Yes.
so bringing it full circle, I like to ask people this. It's very interesting. Is there a movie, book, quote, or philosophy that you can share with us that helped change or shape your perspective professionally or personally?
Um, I'm gonna probably, I mean, gosh, there's so many quotes I absolutely love. I think I'm gonna have to go with a recent one that I learned. I'm reading a book called The Greatness Guide and by Robin Sharma, and he quotes Ralph Emerson in
Mm,
saying, it's a statement that says, what you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. And I read that and I thought, gosh, that is so profound, right? I mean, and it basically is suggesting that you could talk about, you know, all the things that are important to you that are a priority, but show me your schedule, show me your calendar. If you say that health and fitness are important to you and you don't have 5 or 6 workouts in your week at the gym, maybe we're not on the same page here. If you say family time, your family and spending time with them is so important, but you haven't actually penciled that into your schedule, we're absolutely not on the same page. So
mm.
it's all about what your actions are. You can talk about wanting to be a successful agent, but how many times are you sitting at your desk and picking up that phone and reaching out to your
Yeah,
clients? You know, so
yeah.
100% relates over to real estate. What you're doing will 1 million percent transition and translate rather into your success and what you're going to reap. What kind of rewards are you going to reap out of that?
I couldn't have said it better myself. That was well said, well spoken, and a great place to land the plane. Thank you so much for sharing that information and pulling up a chair to the closing table. At this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, the floor is yours.
Oh, I appreciate that, Kevin. Well, you know, if you're a realtor out there that is maybe feeling a little bit lost, you know, this is the beginning of the year, big changes. I always tell people if you're not happy where you are, if you're not a tree, get up and move. Reach out to
Mm,
me. You know, even if it's just to have a conversation and ask for suggestions. I'm all about helping everybody. You don't have to be one of my own agents that's in my brokerage for me to
right.
give you some basic advice, give you a guideline, you know, even maybe sometimes hold you accountable. I have friends in other companies that we hold each other accountable. We're both in the same business. Sometimes we're even competing for the same business, but there's plenty to go around. And I think if you're in the right place, was surrounded by the right kind of people, then there's nothing stopping you but yourself. So anybody can reach out to me at any given time. Look up my name. You can Facebook me, Google my name, Google Fifth Avenue, stop by the office, have some champagne. We always have some in stock.
All right. With that being said, I might be there with that champagne. But anyway, thank you so much, Shatay. We appreciate you. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you got to this point in the video, do us both a favor and hit the like button. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Shatay, on the way out the door, I like to give our audience something to think about. So this is for the audience. Would you prefer to work with the leading agent of a brokerage, or would you work with any agent at a brokerage? And tell us why. Don't tell us now, though. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.